My name is Logan Carter, and I built an empire with my father, only to watch him give it all to my brother. Logan, I gave everything to Adam. You're out. Just like that, I was erased. They expected me to walk away. Instead, I smiled, stepped back, and set my plan in motion. By the time they realized their mistake, it was too late. I had taken everything. My father's voice was calm, too calm. Logan, I gave everything to Adam. You're out. For a moment, I thought I misheard him. The words felt foreign, like they belonged in someone else's nightmare. But they were real. And in a single breath, my father had erased 20 years of my life. I tightened my grip on the phone, but my voice stayed even. Thanks for letting me know. I heard him hesitate. He had expected a reaction, a plea, an argument, maybe even rage. But I gave him nothing. Logan, I know this might seem unfair, but I hung up. The silence in my office was suffocating. Just an hour ago, I had been running Carter Industries, leading negotiations, making decisions that kept this empire alive. And now, I was a ghost, cut off, forgotten. I turned to the window, the city skyline stretching before me. How had I not seen this coming? The signs had been there, the hushed conversations, the missing reports, the way Adam had suddenly started showing up to meetings he had never cared about before. My father had been setting this up for months, maybe longer, and I had been blind. Adam, the golden child, the one who had never worked a day in his life but always had everything handed to him. While I spent my 20s grinding in boardrooms, Adam was burning through trust fund money in luxury resorts. Yet somehow my father had looked at us both and decided he was the one fit to lead. I should have seen it. I should have been prepared. I clenched my jaw, forcing the anger back. This wasn't over. I walked to my desk, pulled open the drawer, and grabbed my black notebook, the one I had never let out of my sight. Inside were years of records. Every major deal, every hidden liability, every mistake my father had buried. He thought he could cut me out and walk away unscathed. He had severely underestimated me. I had built this company with my own hands. I knew every weak spot, every pressure point, and I wasn't going to let them win. I exhaled slowly, adjusting the sleeves of my blazer. My father had made his first mistake choosing Adam over me. His second mistake, assuming I would crumble. I grabbed my keys and left my office, not because I was defeated, because I was preparing for war. I drove through the city in silence, gripping the wheel tighter than I should have. The skyline stretched before me. Towering buildings, flashing billboards, a world I had spent years helping my family conquer. But tonight it felt different, colder. My father had cut me out. My brother had won, or so they thought. I wasn't grieving the loss. I was strategizing my comeback. And the first step? Finding the right ally. I pulled up to the Mercer Club, a private lounge where real business happened. Deals weren't signed in boardrooms, they were made in places like this. Victor Hayes was already waiting for me, a glass of whiskey in front of him. He had been one of my father's closest friends, until my father forced him out of Carter Industries years ago. Now, he was one of the most influential independent investors in the city. He smirked as I approached. Logan Carter. I had a feeling I'd be seeing you soon. Then you know why I'm here. I slid into the seat across from him. Victor leaned forward. Your father finally did it, didn't he? Gave everything to Adam. I nodded. And you're not here to complain about it, he said, reading me instantly. You're here because you're planning to burn it all down. A slow smile spread across my face. I don't want to destroy Carter Industries, Victor. I took a sip of my drink. I want to take it back, piece by piece. Victor chuckled, shaking his head. I always told your father, between you and Adam, you were the real threat. He studied me for a moment. All right, Logan. I'm listening. I leaned in. Adam is in over his head. He's reckless, impulsive. He's already pushing a high-risk merger with Dynacore. Victor's brow lifted. Dynacore? That company is a financial disaster waiting to happen. Exactly. And when that merger collapses, Carter Industries will take a direct hit. I just need to make sure it happens faster. Victor exhaled, a thoughtful look crossing his face. Then he smirked. "You really are your father's son. Tell me what you need." I told him my plan. By the time I walked out of that club, Victor was on board. The first domino had fallen. Adam was about to learn a painful lesson. Power isn't about who is given control. It's about who knows how to keep it. Within a week, I made my first move. I leaked internal reports to key investors, exposing the true financial instability of Dynacore. The company was already hanging by a thread. One push was all it needed to collapse. Within days, Carter Industries stock started to dip. Investors grew nervous. Then came the breaking point. Dynacore's board got spooked by the negative press. They backed out of negotiations publicly. The media went wild. Carter Industries faces leadership crisis as major merger collapses. New CEO Adam Carter fumbles first big deal. Stock plummets 10% overnight. I read every article with quiet satisfaction. Adam had no idea I was the one pulling the strings. He panicked, called emergency meetings, scrambled to find anyone to reassure investors. But trust is fragile. And once it cracks, it's only a matter of time before it shatters completely. And this was just the beginning. Before I reveal what happened next, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your country's flag in the comments below. And if you've ever been underestimated, only to come back stronger, tell me your story. Adam was drowning, and he didn't even realize it. I watched from a distance as Carter Industries, once a symbol of power and prestige, started to crumble under his reckless leadership. At first, the warning signs were subtle. Investors delaying decisions, clients hesitating to renew contracts, and analysts quietly raising concerns about the company's direction. To the outside world, Carter Industries still stood tall. But I knew better. Cracks in the foundation don't stay cracks for long. Under pressure, they shatter. The Dynacore merger failure had been the first major blow. Adam had staked everything on that deal, believing it would be his defining achievement. Instead, he had exposed himself as weak, impulsive, and completely unfit to lead. And in business, perception is everything. The media smelled blood, and the headlines reflected the growing uncertainty surrounding him. But instead of stabilizing the company, Adam doubled down, determined to prove he could fix things on his own. In a desperate attempt to regain confidence, he pushed forward with an aggressive expansion strategy. He approved multimillion-dollar real estate acquisitions in declining markets, funneled money into manufacturing deals without securing long-term contracts, and borrowed heavily to invest in risky supply chain ventures that had no immediate return. On paper, it looked like bold leadership. In reality, it was financial suicide. Every move drained Carter Industries further, and with each passing week, the company sank deeper into instability. The worst part? He didn't see it. Behind closed doors, the board of directors had started to question him. I still had people on the inside, executives who had once worked under me, who had seen firsthand who truly built this company. Through them, I learned that senior leadership was beginning to lose faith. The CFO privately warned Adam that their cash reserves were shrinking too fast. The legal team flagged concerns about contractual liabilities that he had ignored. Even longtime executives began expressing doubt about whether Adam could handle the pressure. But doubt wasn't enough. Not yet. I needed to push him further, to set him up for failure in a way that no amount of damage control could fix. So I gave him exactly what he was looking for, an opportunity to redeem himself. Through my network, I leaked information about an exclusive government contract, a massive infrastructure deal that, if secured, would restore Carter Industries' reputation overnight. The problem? The deal wasn't real. It was bait, and Adam took it. He rushed into negotiations without doing proper due diligence, made public statements about the contract before it was finalized, and even restructured parts of the company in anticipation of the deal. He spent millions in preparation for work that would never come. Then, just as the supposed deal was about to close, the contract was awarded to another company, one that had been working with me all along. The fallout was devastating. Carter Industries had wasted a fortune preparing for a project that didn't exist. The media tore into Adam, exposing his recklessness for the world to see. The stock took another dive. Investors panicked, and within hours, Carter Industries became the face of corporate incompetence. Adam had no way out. In the weeks that followed, I made my final push to finish what I started. I reached out to Carter Industries' biggest suppliers, the companies that had worked with me for years, and made them an offer they couldn't refuse: better contracts, stronger partnerships, long-term security. They left Carter Industries without hesitation. The company's supply chain weakened overnight. Production slowed. Orders were delayed. Revenue dropped further. Then came the moment I had been waiting for. Investors finally lost faith. The board of directors had no choice but to act. They issued a formal vote of no confidence, forcing Adam to step down as CEO. He had lost. But I wasn't finished yet. It was late when my phone rang. I was in my office, reviewing the final paperwork for my latest acquisition, one of Carter Industries' biggest former suppliers, now officially under my control. I let the phone ring twice before answering. It was my father. But this time his voice wasn't firm. It wasn't authoritative. It wasn't even disappointed. It was desperate. "Logan, we need to talk. In person." I leaned back in my chair, completely calm. "What for?" A long pause. Then, a heavy sigh. "Adam is struggling. The board is losing confidence. The company is in trouble." I let the silence stretch between us, forcing him to sit in the reality he had created. "And what do you want from me?" I asked. Another pause. Then, for the first time in his life, my father admitted the truth. "Come back. Help us fix this." I exhaled slowly, tapping my fingers against the desk. Adam, the golden child, was silent now. No arrogance. No entitlement. Just fear. And my father? For the first time, he understood. He had chosen the wrong son. I could have laughed. I could have thrown the phone across the room and let them drown. But that wasn't my plan. Not yet. "I'll think about it," I said smoothly, then hung up. Adam had lost. But my father, he still didn't know just how much worse things were going to get. Carter Industries was dead. The name still existed, but the empire my father built? It was gone. And I was the one who took it. The official bankruptcy filing came just 2 weeks after my father's call. The moment it hit the news, the fallout was immediate. Investors scrambled to salvage what little they could. The board fractured, senior executives resigned, and employees rushed to find jobs elsewhere. Carter Industries had become a sinking ship, and everyone knew it. But I wasn't done. While the world watched Carter Industries fall apart, I was quietly buying up its most valuable assets. Through a network of private investors and holding companies, I made my moves, acquiring everything that still held worth. The logistics branch, the tech subsidiaries, the properties that actually turned a profit. I didn't save Carter Industries. I stripped it for parts. And when the dust settled, there was nothing left of my father's legacy but a hollow name and a pile of debts. I sat in a sleek, modern conference room as the final contracts were signed. The attorneys, advisors, and financial experts worked efficiently, ensuring every deal was locked in. My lawyer slid the last document across the table. "It's official. Your firm now owns the last of Carter Industries' key divisions." I picked up the pen and signed my name. Just like that, I had taken everything. Everything my father had spent a lifetime building. Everything Adam had squandered in less than a year. Everything they thought they could keep from me. And the best part? They never even saw it coming. Adam had been a distraction, a pawn too arrogant to realize he was playing the wrong game. But my father, James Carter, had built an empire from nothing, only to watch it slip through his fingers. I didn't expect him to show up at my office, but he did. I was reviewing my expansion plans when my assistant knocked. "Mr. Carter, your father is here." I looked up from my desk. I hadn't seen him since the night he called me, asking for help. "Send him in." When he walked through the door, I barely recognized him. Gone was the towering, untouchable businessman who once dictated my future. He looked older, the weight of his downfall pressing against his shoulders. The man who had once controlled everything now had nothing left to control. He stood there for a moment, taking in the office. My office. The one that should have been his, but was now run by the son he had thrown away. "You really did it," he said quietly. I leaned back in my chair. I did. A long silence stretched between us. You could have helped, he finally said. You could have come back. We could have fixed it together. I studied him, the man who had once told me that loyalty was everything, only to betray me when it mattered most. The man who had spent years preaching about hard work and earning your place, only to hand my legacy to a fool who did nothing to deserve it. No, Dad, I said, my voice calm. You could have fixed it, but you didn't want to. You wanted Adam to be the golden child. You wanted to prove that I wasn't necessary. I gestured around the office. And now you finally understand what I always knew. His jaw tightened. He wanted to argue, to justify, to make excuses, but he didn't, because he knew I was right. He exhaled slowly, looking down at the floor. And then, in the quietest voice I had ever heard from him, he said, I made a mistake. For a moment, something flickered inside me. A piece of me, the son who had once wanted his approval, who had once believed in him, wanted to forgive. But then I remembered. I remembered every moment he ignored me. I remembered every sacrifice I made, only to be cast aside. I remembered that when he had the choice, he didn't choose me. So I said nothing. Finally, he nodded, a silent admission of defeat. Without another word, he turned and walked out of my office. And this time I didn't look back, because I never needed Carter Industries. I never needed my father's approval. What I needed, what I had always needed, was the freedom to build something of my own. And that's exactly what I did. Power isn't given, it's taken. And in the end, I took everything. This story isn't just about revenge. It's about resilience, strategy, and proving your worth when the world underestimates you. Logan didn't just fight back. He outplayed, outmaneuvered, and took everything from the people who betrayed him. His story teaches us that power isn't given. It's taken by those who refuse to accept defeat. Now, I want to hear from you. What would you have done in Logan's place? Would you have walked away? Or would you have fought back like he did? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And let's settle this. Did you enjoy the story? If you loved the twists and the strategic revenge, comment 2 below. If it wasn't for you, comment 7 and tell me why. If this story kept you hooked, hit that like button. It really helps. And for more powerful stories like this, subscribe to Mr.HeartVibes so you never miss the next one. Big things are coming. Stay tuned.